Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. The hotel's cold lobby was the first sign that things would not be easy for Connor. He walked in from the hot city. The heavy glass doors made a noise as they opened for him. Connor looked tired. The concierge saw him and paid close attention to him. Most people visiting the museum did not look this rough. His shirt had dark stains and his duffel bag was almost falling apart. The concierge saw him waiting at the counter and quickly turned away from her other task to help him. Connor did not know he fit in well here. Before Connor said anything, Patricia, the concierge, guessed what he needed. She smiled, then smiled wider. "Ms. Walsh, we have been waiting for you. The Pinnacle Corporation courier brought your things this morning." Patricia bent down and took out a burgundy garment bag with a luxury logo. "We had housekeeping steam your clothes. Your corporate rate includes special amenities on the executive floor." Connor looked at the garment bag. There's been a mistake. "Julia Walsh arriving Sunday for the management training?" Patricia asked. "That's you, right? My name is Connor. Here's your key card. Suite 2412. The conference facilities are on the mezzanine level. Your first session begins at 8 tomorrow morning." Patricia slid a leather portfolio across the marble counter. "This contains your itinerary, participant list, and presentation materials." Connor opened his mouth to protest, but Patricia had already turned to greet the next guest. He grabbed the garment bag and portfolio, shuffling toward the elevators. The bag weighed more than expected, and through the clear plastic window, he glimpsed burgundy fabric. The elevator climbed silently. Connor studied his reflection in the mirrored walls, stubble darkening his jaw, polo shirt bearing the ghost of a coffee stain. Not exactly corporate trainer material. When the doors opened on the 24th floor, he navigated plush hallways until finding Suite 2412. The key card beeped green. Connor stepped into a room that could swallow his entire studio apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city skyline, and a king bed dominated the space, its white duvet folded with military precision. He tossed his duffel on the luggage rack and hung the garment bag in the closet. Curiosity won. He unzipped the bag, revealing a burgundy sheath dress, matching pumps nestled in a shoe bag, and what appeared to be a complete professional wardrobe, silk blouses in cream and pale pink, a charcoal pencil skirt, tailored black pants, a navy blazer. Connor lifted the dress from its hanger. The fabric felt expensive, substantial. A tag dangled from the sleeve. "Julia, knock them dead this week. Can't wait to hear all about it." Marcus. He checked the portfolio. The cover page read, "Advanced Management Techniques for the Modern Workplace. Lead Facilitator, Julia Walsh." Behind it, 40 pages of materials covered topics from conflict resolution to performance metrics. Connor's phone buzzed. His bank balance flashed on screen, $247.83. The conference registration had eaten his last freelance payment. His return flight wasn't until Friday, and the hotel room, apparently paid for by Pinnacle Corporation, was nicer than anywhere he'd stayed in his life. He flipped through the training materials. The content looked straightforward: case studies, role-playing exercises, breakout sessions. Nothing he couldn't handle with his project management experience. The dress hung in his peripheral vision. Connor had done theater in college, played Rosalind in an all-male production of As You Like It. The costume department had transformed him so thoroughly his own roommate hadn't recognized him. But that was Shakespeare, not corporate America. He examined the shoes. Size 9. His size. The bathroom mirror reflected his tired face. Connor ran the shower, steam filling the marble space. He shaved carefully, leaving his skin smooth. The hotel provided an array of products: shampoo, conditioner, body wash in expensive-looking bottles. Clean and wrapped in a plush bathrobe, Connor sat on the bed. The smart thing would be admitting the mistake, checking out, finding a cheap motel for the conference. But Pinnacle Corporation had already paid for Julia Walsh's suite. They'd prepared materials, expected a trainer. He opened the portfolio again. The participant list showed 25 mid-level managers from various Pinnacle divisions. The company bio described Julia Walsh as a sought-after corporate trainer with expertise in organizational development. Connor pulled out his laptop, searching Julia Walsh corporate trainer. No results. Whoever she was, she hadn't established much online presence. He stood before the closet. The burgundy dress waited. Just to see, he muttered. The fabric slipped over his head easily. The sheath style clung, but not uncomfortably so. Connor had maintained a runner's build, lean, not particularly muscular. The dress hit just above his knees. The shoes required more effort. He'd worn heels for that college production, but hadn't attempted them since. These were sensible pumps, only 3 inches, in the same burgundy shade as the dress. Connor practiced walking across the suite. Heel-toe, smaller steps, shoulders back. Muscle memory returned slowly. He caught his reflection in the window, a silhouette that could pass for professional if you didn't look too closely. His phone rang. Connor lunged for it, nearly turning an ankle. "Ms. Walsh?" An unfamiliar voice, female, efficient. "This is Rebecca from Pinnacle Corporation. I wanted to confirm you received the materials and ensure your accommodations are satisfactory." Connor hesitated. His voice had always run higher than typical. In customer service calls, people often mistook him for female. "Yes, everything's fine." He pitched his voice carefully, not falsetto, but allowing its natural lightness. "Excellent. The management team is looking forward to tomorrow's session, 8 a.m. sharp in the Meridian Conference Room. Will you need any additional equipment?" The portfolio mentioned a projector. "Already set up. We've also arranged breakfast service at 7:30. Do you have any dietary restrictions?" "No." "Perfect. Have a pleasant evening, Ms. Walsh." The line went dead. Connor stared at the phone. He'd just committed fraud. Or had he? Nobody had asked for identification. The hotel had handed him the materials. Pinnacle Corporation called him. He ordered room service, a salad, grilled salmon, glass of white wine. When the knock came, Connor's heart hammered. But the waiter merely set up the meal on the dining table, accepting the signature without a glance. Connor ate in the burgundy dress, reviewing the training materials between bites. The first day focused on communication styles. He'd led similar sessions for his programming teams, translating technical concepts for non-technical stakeholders. By 10 p.m., he'd memorized the key points and practiced his opening remarks. The dress came off carefully, hung back in the closet. Connor collapsed into bed, setting 3 alarms. Morning arrived too soon. Connor showered again, shaved his legs this time, a decision made half asleep, but committed to fully. The small makeup bag in the garment bag contained basics: foundation, mascara, lipstick in neutral shades. He applied them sparingly, remembering techniques from college. The burgundy dress went on easier the second time. Connor twisted his brown hair into a low bun, securing it with bobby pins found in the bathroom. The shoes still required concentration, but he made it to the elevator without stumbling. "Morning, Ms. Walsh." Patricia stood behind the front desk again, or perhaps she'd never left. "The Meridian Room is just past the restaurant, down the hallway to your left." Connor nodded, not trusting his voice before coffee. He found the conference room easily, 25 people already gathered around a U-shaped table arrangement, laptops open, coffee cups steaming. "Julia!" A man in a gray suit bounded forward, hand extended. "Marcus Chen, VP of Human Resources. So glad you could make this work on short notice." Connor shook his hand. "Happy to be here." "Everyone, Julia Walsh has arrived." Marcus gestured to the room. "Julia comes highly recommended for her innovative approach to management development." Faces turned expectantly. Connor moved to the front of the room, pulling up the presentation on the provided laptop. His hands steadied as he clicked through to the title slide. "Good morning. Before we dive into communication styles, I'd like to learn about the challenges you're facing in your departments." Hands shot up. Connor called on a woman in a blue blazer. "Remote team management. Half my staff works from home now, and I'm struggling to maintain cohesion." "Excellent point." Connor moved away from the podium, the burgundy dress allowing surprising freedom of movement. "How many others are dealing with hybrid teams?" Most hands rose. Connor felt the familiar rhythm of facilitation taking over, asking probing questions, drawing out quieter participants, synthesizing themes on the whiteboard. The morning session flew past. "Let's take 15. Connor glanced at his watch, a simple silver piece that had belonged to his grandmother. "When we return, we'll role-play some challenging conversations." The participants scattered for coffee refills. Marcus approached, grinning. "Fantastic start. You really got them engaged. They're a sharp group." Connor accepted a bottle of water gratefully. His throat was dry from 3 hours of talking. "I sat in on your session in Chicago last year. This seems even more polished." Connor nearly choked on the water. "Every group is different. I've refined a few things." "It shows. By the way, we're taking you to dinner tomorrow night." "Nothing fancy, just the executive team wanting to pick your brain about our development programs." The afternoon session tackled conflict resolution. Connor divided the managers into pairs, assigning scenarios from the workbook. He circulated among them, the click of his heels on the conference room floor becoming automatic. "Remember, you're not trying to win." He paused beside two men engaged in heated debate over a hypothetical budget dispute. "You're trying to understand the other person's constraints. But if I give ground on headcount, my entire project falls apart." The younger man's face flushed red. "What if it's not about giving ground?" Connor perched on the edge of their table. "What if you explored why your colleague needs those resources?" By 5 o'clock, energy flagged. Connor wrapped up with key takeaways, assigning light homework, observing one challenging interaction before tomorrow's session. "Brilliant first day." Marcus pumped Connor's hand again. "Same time tomorrow?" Connor climbed to the 24th floor, feet aching. Inside the suite, he kicked off the burgundy pumps and collapsed on the sofa. His phone showed missed calls from his roommate, probably wondering why he hadn't checked in about the conference. He'd text later. Right now, Connor needed food and possibly a foot massage. Room service arrived within 30 minutes. Pasta carbonara and a bottle of red wine that cost more than his weekly grocery budget. Connor ate in comfortable silence, still wearing the burgundy dress. Through the windows, the city lights began their nightly show. He'd pulled off an entire day as Julia Walsh, corporate trainer. Nobody had questioned him, looked at him strangely, or done anything but treat him as a professional woman delivering valuable content. The training materials for day 2 covered delegation and accountability. Connor reviewed them while soaking his feet in the bathtub. The remaining wardrobe hung in the closet. Tomorrow called for the charcoal skirt and cream blouse, according to a small note attached to the hanger. He'd become Julia Walsh through administrative error and desperation. But sitting in that conference room, watching managers lean forward to catch every word, Connor had felt more confident than in any programming job. The clothes were just fabric. The name was just sounds. But the work, helping people communicate better, solve problems, lead teams, that felt real. Tuesday dawned gray and drizzly. Connor selected the charcoal pencil skirt and cream silk blouse, pairing them with black pumps that seemed marginally more comfortable than yesterday's burgundy ones. His hair cooperated better, twisting into a neat bun on the first try. "Looking sharp, Ms. Walsh." The elevator operator, hotels still had those, smiled warmly. The Meridian room buzzed with conversation. Participants compared notes on their homework observations. "Julia, perfect timing." A woman with silver hair waved her over. "We were just discussing Tom's situation with his team lead." Connor joined their circle, listening as Tom described a subordinate who consistently missed deadlines but bristled at feedback. "What's your instinct telling you?" Connor asked. "That he's in over his head but too proud to ask for help? So what might happen if you approached it from a place of curiosity rather than correction?" The morning flew past in a blur of exercises and discussions. Connor found himself drawing on years of managing remote developers, translating those experiences into universal principles. The participants took notes furiously, asking follow-up questions that pushed him to think deeper. Lunch was catered in an adjacent room. Connor picked at a Caesar salad, conscious of not spilling on the cream blouse. "Mind if I join you?" Rebecca, the woman who'd called Sunday night, appeared with her own plate. Please. Connor gestured to an empty chair. I've been sitting in when I can. Your session on delegation really resonated. Rebecca cut into her chicken. I've been hoarding tasks because training someone seems like more work than doing it myself. Common trap. Connor sipped his iced tea. What's one task you could hand off this week as an experiment? They discussed strategies until the afternoon session. Connor led the group through accountability frameworks, using their real challenges as case studies. By the time 5 o'clock arrived, several participants lingered, reluctant to leave. See you at dinner tomorrow, Marcus reminded him. Brio Bistro, 7 o'clock. Back in the suite, Connor ordered a steak and baked potato. He ate while reviewing Wednesday's materials on performance management. His feet had adjusted to the heels somewhat, though he still gladly kicked them off at every opportunity. The week developed its own rhythm. Each morning, Connor selected from Julia's wardrobe. Wednesday brought the pale pink blouse with black pants. Thursday, the navy blazer over a white shell. He refined his makeup routine, keeping it professional but polished. The bun became second nature. The participants opened up more each day, sharing real frustrations and victories. Connor guided them through difficult conversations, helped them see patterns in their leadership styles, celebrated breakthroughs when someone grasped a concept that had eluded them. Wednesday's dinner proved less daunting than anticipated. The executive team peppered him with questions about curriculum development and measuring training effectiveness. Connor drew on articles he'd read, conferences he'd attended as Connor, reframing the insights through Julia's perspective. We need someone like you full-time. Marcus spoke over dessert, a decadent chocolate mousse. Our internal training programs are outdated. Flattering, Connor demurred. But I'm sure you have capable people internally. None with your experience. The CEO, an older woman named Diane, leaned forward. What would it take to bring you on board? Connor nearly dropped his spoon. I'd need to think about it. Of course, but know that we're serious. The impact you've had on this cohort in just 3 days is remarkable. Thursday morning, Connor chose the burgundy dress again. It had become a kind of armor, the first piece that transformed him into Julia. The participants greeted him warmly, several mentioning how they'd applied concepts from earlier in the week. My team meeting yesterday went completely differently. Tom practically bounced in his seat. I asked questions instead of issuing directives. We actually solved a problem that's been festering for months. The success stories multiplied. Connor felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the conference room's temperature. These people were changing how they led because of conversations they'd had together. Tomorrow's our last day. Connor addressed the group as Thursday wound down. I want to focus on sustaining these changes when you're back in your regular environments. Will you stay in touch? Rebecca asked. Maybe a monthly check-in call? Others nodded enthusiastically. Connor found himself agreeing, even as he wondered how to manage it. Friday arrived too quickly. Connor selected the charcoal skirt again, paired with the navy blazer. He'd grown comfortable moving in the professional women's attire, no longer conscious of every step or gesture. The final session focused on action planning. Each participant crafted specific commitments, sharing them with accountability partners. Connor facilitated a closing circle where everyone named one insight they'd carry forward. This week changed how I see my role. A quiet manager named David spoke carefully. I thought leadership meant having all the answers. Julia showed me it means asking better questions. When the last participant left, Connor stood alone in the Meridian room. Flip charts covered the walls, filled with frameworks and breakthrough moments captured in colorful markers. 5 days of intensive learning, connection, growth. Knock, knock. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Diane would like a word before you leave. The CEO's suite occupied a corner of the top floor. Connor sat across from her, hands folded in his lap, the charcoal skirt smooth against his legs. I'll cut to the chase. Diane pushed a folder across the coffee table. This is a formal offer. Director of Leadership Development. You'd build out our entire management curriculum, deliver programs, train other facilitators. Connor opened the folder. The salary figure made him blink. 3 times what he'd ever earned in tech. The position would require relocating here, of course. We'd cover all moving expenses. There's also a signing bonus. This is generous. Connor's voice came out steady despite his racing pulse. It's what you're worth. The feedback from this week has been extraordinary. Every participant wants to nominate colleagues for your next program. When would you need an answer? Take the weekend. But Julia, I hope you'll say yes. You have a gift for this work. Connor returned to the suite in a daze. He hung up the navy blazer, stepped out of the charcoal skirt, and sat on the bed in the hotel bathrobe. The garment bag lay empty now, all of Julia's wardrobe integrated into his experience. His phone buzzed. A text from his roommate. "How's the conference? You've been radio silent all week." Connor started to type a response, then stopped. How could he explain what had happened? That a case of mistaken identity had shown him a completely different life path? He ordered room service one last time, filet mignon and a Caesar salad. While eating, Connor reviewed the offer letter. Director of Leadership Development, Julia Walsh. The name had power now. Not just sounds, but an identity he'd inhabited fully. Julia commanded respect in conference rooms, guided executives through difficult conversations, inspired managers to become better leaders. Julia wore pencil skirts and silk blouses with confidence, navigated corporate dinners with ease, built programs that changed how people worked together. Connor had arrived Sunday exhausted and broke, hoping to network his way into another freelance gig. Julia would leave tomorrow with a 6-figure job offer and a clear sense of purpose. He pulled out his laptop and began typing. "Dear Diane, I'm honored by your offer and excited to accept the position of Director of Leadership Development." The letter flowed easily. Connor included ideas for expanding the program, metrics for measuring success, a vision for building Pinnacle's reputation as a leadership development hub. Saturday morning checkout loomed. Connor packed carefully, folding each piece of Julia's wardrobe with reverence. The burgundy dress went in last, the fabric that had started everything. At the front desk, Patricia smiled broadly. "I hope you enjoyed your stay, Ms. Walsh." "Very much." Connor signed the checkout form with Julia's name, now practiced and natural. "The company car is waiting to take you to the airport." "Actually, I'll need it to go to Pinnacle Corporation instead." Connor had called Diane that morning, accepting the offer and asking to tour the offices before flying home. She'd been delighted, arranging meetings with key stakeholders. The Blacktown car glided through downtown streets. Connor wore the cream blouse and black pants, professional but comfortable for travel. His brown hair was pulled back in the familiar bun. Pinnacle's headquarters occupied a gleaming tower. Connor checked in at security, receiving a temporary badge reading Julia Walsh, Visitor. Soon to be permanent. Diane met him at the elevator. "Ready to see your new home?" They toured training rooms, met department heads, discussed plans for the Leadership Institute Julia would build. Connor spoke confidently about curriculum design, facilitator development, creating communities of practice. "When can you start?" Diane asked over lunch in the executive dining room. 2 weeks? I need to wrap up some projects and relocate." "Perfect. HR will be in touch about the logistics." The flight home passed in a blur. Connor had bought a fashion magazine at the airport, studying professional wardrobe essentials. Julia would need more than 1 week's worth of clothes. His roommate barely looked up when he entered the apartment. "Good conference?" "Life-changing, actually." "Cool, rent's due Tuesday." Connor went to his room, unpacking Julia's clothes into his closet. They looked out of place among his jeans and polo shirts, but soon those would be donated. Julia Walsh didn't wear baggy khakis or faded t-shirts. He spent the weekend shopping carefully, building a professional wardrobe piece by piece. Each skirt, blouse, and dress was an investment in his new identity. Connor haunted YouTube tutorials on makeup and hair, practicing until he could create a polished look in under 20 minutes. Monday morning, he called his freelance clients, explaining he was taking a corporate position. Most were understanding. The work would transition easily to other contractors. "Director of Leadership Development?" His oldest client whistled. "That's quite a jump from programming." "Turns out I have a knack for it." 2 weeks later, Connor stood in his empty apartment. Everything he owned fit in 3 suitcases. His roommate had found a replacement easily. "Good luck with the new gig." They shook hands awkwardly. "You seem different lately, more confident or something." Connor smiled. "Something like that." The drive to his new city took 6 hours. Connor had splurged on a comfortable sedan, knowing Julia would need reliable transportation. He'd already signed a lease on a 1-bedroom apartment near Pinnacle's offices, sight unseen but trusting the property manager's photos. Sunday night in the new apartment, Connor hung his wardrobe carefully. Tomorrow, Julia Walsh would officially begin her career at Pinnacle Corporation. The burgundy dress occupied a place of honor, the catalyst for everything that followed. He practiced walking in the black pumps he'd chosen for the first day, paired with a navy sheath dress and pearls borrowed from his grandmother's jewelry box. The mirror reflected a professional woman ready to lead, teach, inspire. Monday arrived crisp and bright. Connor, Julia now in every way that mattered, arrived at Pinnacle 30 minutes early. Her badge photo captured her smiling, brown hair neat, makeup subtle but effective. "Welcome to the team," Marcus greeted her warmly. "Ready to build something amazing?" Julia toured her new office, met her assistant, reviewed the calendar already filling with meetings and planning sessions. By lunch, she'd outlined a 6-month roadmap for the Leadership Institute. Weeks turned to months. Julia's programs gained recognition throughout the company. She facilitated sessions for senior executives, designed online modules for remote employees, created peer coaching circles that continued long after formal training ended. Her wardrobe expanded, tailored suits in charcoal and navy, silk blouses in jewel tones, dresses appropriate for everything from board presentations to team celebrations. Each morning she selected clothes that made her feel powerful, capable, authentically herself. "You've transformed this place," Diane observed during Julia's 6-month review. "Engagement scores are up 15% in departments that have completed your programs. It's just the beginning." Julia laid out plans for the next phase: a leadership academy in partnership with local universities, a mentorship program pairing high-potential employees with executives, a conference showcasing Pinnacle's culture of development. The work consumed her in the best way. Julia arrived early, stayed late, spent weekends reading the latest research on organizational behavior. She attended conferences now as a speaker, not just a participant, sharing insights on building leadership capacity at scale. Her apartment filled with evidence of this new life. Business cards reading Julia Walsh, Director of Leadership Development, awards from the Society for Human Resource Management, photos from company events where she stood confidently among colleagues who'd become friends. The burgundy dress still hung in her closet, worn occasionally for important presentations. Each time Julia slipped it on, she remembered that first morning in the Meridian Room, terrified but determined, stepping into an identity that felt more true than anything she'd known before. Year 1 became Year 2. Julia's programs expanded to Pinnacle's satellite offices. She hired and trained a team of facilitators, built partnerships with other companies seeking leadership development expertise, published articles in industry journals. "We're promoting you to vice president," Diane announced at Julia's 2-year anniversary lunch. "You've built something extraordinary here." Julia accepted gracefully, though inside she marveled at the journey. From a case of mistaken identity to leading transformation at a Fortune 500 company, all because she'd had the courage to put on a burgundy dress and see where it led. Her days filled with purpose, designing curricula that helped people become better leaders, facilitating conversations that unlocked potential, building systems that developed talent throughout the organization. Julia had found her calling in conference rooms and training centers, wearing pencil skirts and silk blouses, guiding others toward their own breakthroughs. The woman who checked out of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel that Saturday morning bore little resemblance to the exhausted programmer who'd checked in. Julia Walsh had emerged fully formed, confident in her expertise and comfortable in her skin. She'd built a career, a reputation, a life that aligned with her deepest values and talents. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.